kasih Pak Wicinto. Secara keseluruhannya, ya, kita telah cuba untuk cover most, if not all, banyak lagi hal-hal yang tidak dibincangkan. So perhaps in order for us to have more better intense interaction, I will not comment further. Kita open up for discussion, yeah, and kita can raise any issues, and we still have quite a good time.
Half an hour.
Half an hour, perhaps. Half an hour. So we rather use this time usefully. Yeah. I don't think I have much more else to say, kecuali untuk menyebutkan bahawa there's a lot of well-intended promises lah on generating high income, right? But looking at what has been done, it makes you feel that having big mega project will eventually brings about a higher income. Introduction of the ETPs, the EPPs, yeah, all meant to, and they are all essentially targeting at the end of the day that the populace, the rakyat will have a higher income. Now, until and unless we are sure as to how a higher income economy is to be generated through a higher performing economy, premise on productivity, I tell you, we are doing more of the same thing. And latest that I've heard, it was yesterday's in Malaysian Insider, that most likely, given the gloomy, grim scenario of the global economy, that the PM is bound to be palm priming. There's nothing wrong about palm priming per se, but quality of palm priming, yeah, meaning at what sector? If we're going to be continuing building roads, highways, some of these highways, my God, you know, the latest, they are built everywhere. I thank God that we have got one in Kuala Selangor, Latar. But this is the idea of big mega project, you know, meant to, of course, be given to some people. But will it, at the end of the day, bring about higher income for that 60% of those earning 3,000 a month, much less of those 40% who are earning less than 1,500. Mind you, if I can just conclude on that, 80% of the population in Malaysia is actually on a 2,500 per month. You take that 60, you take that 40, yeah. You have an average of 80% of the Malaysian household having 2,500 per month. Now this budget must actually, and we challenge the PM to address specifically as to the mechanics of getting a high income economy. Just don't keep talking about it through big mega project. That will make a lot more of his cronies to be millionaires and billionaires. But does it affect, does it cost, yeah, at the end of the day, those household income, those 40% target group or 60% target group to have high income economy? Now, I leave that to you. So that this is why we address our budget this way. This is why our approach, our strategic approach in raising up, you know, household income, and more so, disposable income. Incomes you have money to spend in your pocket. That is disposable income. Duit dalam poket yang boleh dibelanja. You know, that determines what? That determines the consumption factor of your GDP. C plus I plus G, X minus M. Remember that. That C factor, that domestic consumption, that has been driving this economy and growth in our country. And the minute you have that slowing down, because people no longer have the disposable income and the ability to spend, come with, compounded by a slowing X minus M, and no longer ability to invest by the G factor of the government spending, burdened by almost 53% debt, public debt, federal government debt to GDP, you have a very grim scenario here of growth. So I would only add on to that. And this is why we have strategized our budget to be this way. Okay, I'll now open to for question. Yeah, please.
Some say that the budget is a populist measure. What's your comment on that?
Alright, Will, you know that is. Itu soalan bocor yang kita sudah sedia untuk jawab. Yeah, one. We'll take three at a time. Populist budget, shadow budget, populist budget. Next. Kita jawab dulu.
Daripada 3,000 sebulan. That the whole focus of this budget is to ensure that those who earn less than 3,000 per month household, they actually get help from the government one way or the other, especially through minimum wage, the introduction of minimum wage, and also healthcare and other measures. Is it populist? It is for the biggest group of population. What do you mean by populism? We are introducing something permanent. We are introducing something that is not being done previously. The government is still talking about minimum wage and there's no decision. We are making a stand that here we are starting a journey, a long-term journey. Populist in what sense? If you say populist in the sense of helping the largest group of population, yes, it is what they call it is trying to help the 60% of the population, especially during hard time. We are anticipating a difficult time, and what we want to do is to ensure dignity. You see, we are trying to say if we are going to provide 1,000 ringgit for household whose family actually earn less than what they call 1,000 per month, we're going to give some. These are actually the reason why we are giving money. It's not for vote, but it's to ensure that in tough time, in difficult time, at least you have some help from the government. We are not talking about kalau kerajaan Barisan Nasional boleh bagi subsidi kepada syarikat gergasi. We are saying that we are trying to transfer that money in order to ensure that people at the bottom get some help, however little it is, directly during difficult times, so that at least they have some dignity. They don't have to beg. They don't have to go into along.
Thanks, sir.
I want to add a bit because this issue of being populist, I suppose, will crop up over and over again. We should also ask the question, that's why Vichin Tong asked, okay, what exactly being a populist budget is? Populist denotes a negative connotation because by Malaysian political standard, that usually means fishing for votes, spending money that you don't have temporarily without any effect on the economy just for the sake of getting votes. And I think it's in that perspective that we have to dissect our budget. Number one, the money or packages that are offered to the population, it has economic means and objectives. The 6.9 billion direct assistance package offered to the largest section of our population is meant to help them and also to strengthen the domestic demand together with the introduction of minimum wage. Because in this uncertain global economic climate, even in the past 1 year, we have to rely more and more to domestic demand to cushion whatever uncertainties out there. So strategically, in the next 10 years, we should be looking as much at strengthening our market base, our domestic demand, as much as we are looking outside for new markets. So it has to begin now. If you talk about strengthening, if you read latest Bank Negara economic reports, it cites stronger than expected domestic demand that helps cushion the economy. Well, rather than just hope for it to happen, Pakatan Rakyat actually wants to implement something that builds on that and strengthen the domestic demand in the next 5-10 years. This is number one. So the 6.9 billion that we spend every year will strengthen the fundamentals of the economy. So I do not see how doing that is being considered populist. That's number one. Number two, I think, again, as I put it in context, it is populist if you spend money that you don't have. But the 220 billion spending with all the series of assistance to the public is actually spending money within our means. We can afford 220 billion. In fact, we will cut debt and deficit with that 220 billion. The difference is prioritization of spending rather than spending on overrun projects, on leakages. We are directing towards the people so that the money is better in their pockets because it will be plowed back to the economy and to a certain extent it helps combat inflation and at the same time keep the economy, a bit more well prepared whatever happens outside.
I think
Thank you.
just want to respond to
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think what Rafizi has just said is exactly how we want to differentiate ourselves from Barisan Nasional. Barisan Nasional is also looking at domestic demand, but the Prime Minister is thinking about using the MRT as the sole
Yeah.
what they call sole driving force for domestic demand.
Yeah.
And he has said this recently.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Najib has said that MRT will drive domestic demand, and through that Malaysia will weather difficult international time, the difficult global economy. I don't think that will work. It is not organic. The moment you give money to contractors, they can hire foreign workers. You get Bangla,
Yes.
and then you get the cronies sending their money overseas. That's the end of it. The money is siphoned out either through Bangla, Indonesian, or through the tycoon bringing money to London or to Switzerland or to other places. So what we are saying is that we don't want that to happen. We want to actually put direct assistance to Malaysians so that they spend in the economy and the economy, the domestic consumption or domestic demand grow organically. That's what we want. Now, second point is for background. Tahun lepas apabila belanjawan dibentang oleh Datuk Seri Najib, jumlah yang dibentang ini bajet 2011 jumlah yang dibentang ialah 214 bilion jumlah yang dibentang. Ini untuk bajet asal. Tetapi supplementary tambahan, the first tambahan belanjawan tambahan ialah 13 bilion. So kalau you campur dua ni, they have already committed, Barisan Nasional has already committed a spending of 227 billion tahun ni. Now we don't know how much more to expect. Now we are anticipating that Najib is likely to say, okay, the budget is X amount, without telling, and then the deficit is X amount, the subsidy is X amount, without telling you that there will be another 2 supplementary coming. Now we are anticipating that to happen, but we are saying that we are very clear. We are showing you the numbers, the real numbers of subsidy. We are showing you the real number of deficit that we anticipate to happen. Thank you.
Terima kasih. Ini mau saya tambahkan sikit ya, pertaining to this issue about no, I'm not going to go to the populist thing, but on the MRT and how it eventually will affect the target of high income economy. The correlation is just not there. However, our budget stresses on putting a cap, minimize the usage of foreign workers. Foreign workers have always been the greatest culprit of bringing down wage increase. The World Bank has admitted that for the last 10 years, Malaysia Malaysian workers only experience 2.6% real income increase in wages, taking account of inflation. 2.6%, way behind all the rest of the other emerging and also advanced economies like, you know, our neighbors like Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Why? Because essentially you have this almost now admitted as about 3 million, 1.5 yang haram, 1.5 yang berdaftar. And with these workers that is being given 5 years work permit, and lepas 5 years dibalikkan, and then all these employers are very more than happy to have another round, starting with the entry pay balik. No, if you keep maintaining them, they will increase with their wage. But every 5 years, there's a turnover of what will then be the entry wage for all of them. So it is this that is suppressing our income mobility upward. For as long as we rely on these workers, unskilled, engaged in low value added sectors and enterprises, we will forever, sampai eternity, sampai kiamat, trapped in this low income economy. And you can talk about MRT, you can talk about everything else so mega, yet that population that you want to push forward their income, you trap them competing with this, with all due respect, Bangladesh, Indonesia, yeah, that is now not only engaged in plantation, construction, but as well in the service sectors, in coming into 7-Eleven and hotel and whatnot. Now this is the scenario. Okay, this is the scenario that we want to break. We want to break this. We want to break this bottleneck. That's why we address the issue of empowering Malaysian. And mind you, we have 80% of our workforce only with SPM qualification. How do you then bring them up to at least semi-skilled? Okay. So with minimum wage, we are able to bring about a mechanism of dismantling this shackle ni yang merangkap kita ini, supaya they all float upward. I mean, in you know, semua akan dapat keluar daripada perangkap ini. Yeah. So we have at the same time facilitation grant for the SMEs 2 billion, so that they can address this issue. So dia tidak takut untuk move forward with higher value added, more knowledge based enterprises. For as long, and when we believe also that we should perhaps now, you know, put a cap on sending our logs. There must be a lot more downstream activities. Oil palm, ya, olin, ya ni. Kalau balak itu diharamkan dihantar, diekspor keluar, kecuali those with value added products. Now only through this way. And for that to happen, you must spend in R&D, NC, commercialization. You must spend in bringing up our workforce into at least becoming semi-skilled, if not fully skilled. Now, there's no shortcut to this. There's no populist measures to this. Save through working organically, you know, concertedly, to have finally breakthrough. See, all this talk about new economic model was once upon a time, even for us, very consoling. Where is it now? Gone down the drain because perkasa, because of all the pressure. PM has got to backpedal, and now it's all lost in ETPs, EPPs, and whatnot. Thank you. Lagi? Ada lagi? Azlan? Anything from you? Yeah, Sharon. Karen.
Just a couple of questions. Nitpicking a bit. Your additional allocation for direct assistance and along with the pay increase for senior citizens, you say that it comes to 28 billion.
Comparing, because for 2011, the budget was 214 billion.
Yeah.
So for 220 billion, there's additional 6 billion that's specifically allocated for the direct assistance package. So usually the whole 6 billion is because, as I explained earlier, the income is expected to hit 181 billion from revenue collection and dividends and so on. Then the issue is how much do we want to borrow actually to fund. We think that with just 39 billion at 4.4% deficit, we would be able to carry out of this. And with 220 billion, that means that additional 6 billion to pay for direct assistance package. The rest is about another 6 billion plus, but 7 billion, that is where we will achieve through open tenders, APs, and yeah.
I'm not questioning how you're going to get that. It's just more of an accounting question. If you get more government revenue through AP auction, yeah, that goes into your revenue account. But if you spend that money, it's also added expenditure. What I'm saying is that if in the 220 billion, you've covered 6.5 billion of the cost of this direct assistance and salary increase. Whatever else you spend more is additional to your expenditure. Now you say here that you save 5 billion from wastages. So that doesn't add to the expenditure account, it's based on savings. But the 1.2 is at the expenditure, isn't it? Even though your revenue also goes up, I'm just asking.
The 1.2 billion is not expenditure, it's income.
Income.
AP.
AP income.
Yeah, it comes from income.
Yeah.
Yep.
So based on the income account, you plus 1.2 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we arrive.
So you plus 1.2 billion.
No.
Is that the case?
No.
You only increase, so why do you have
Yeah.
to? You're not giving out.
Double.
Because it's money coming in and also going back out to direct assistance.
Yeah,
Isn't your direct assistance part of your
No.
operating expenditure?
We start no. That's why when we say the 6.9 billion direct assistance package, these are the additional. It's
Over and above.
additional
Over and above. Yeah.
Assuming that all the other operational expenses are kept and in fact shaved so that we spend less, you still need the 6.9 billion because these are new programs. Yeah. So 1.2 billion is included in the 181 billion income projection. That already includes in that. So you see, we look from the perspective you have a set amount of income, how are you going to spend it? So we have 181 billion with 4.4% deposit deficit. You get 220 billion. Then the question is how effectively you can spend the 220 billion. And that's how it's keeping everything at keeping everything at 2011 level and then keep expenditure down by cutting out the wastages. That would free about 7 billion we think, plus the 6 billion that obviously will have to come from borrowing because our income is 181 billion. The 6 billion will come from borrowing to fund it. Don't talk to accountant.
What I'm saying is that you're saying that because as you say in your press statement, the 12.8 billion, the amount will be partly funded by 6.5 billion increase in total expenditure.
Yep.
And the balance shall come from higher government revenue
Yeah.
and savings from the I get that the savings and also the 6.5 billion increase will come from the 220 lah.
Yes.
Basically, the accounting will go if allocation of last year's spending for everything was 240.
Yeah.
You minus 5 from leakages, so it becomes 209.
Okay.
You say you spend 220 means you have 11 billion for this direct assistance and salary increase lah.
Yeah.
But the other 1.2 billion is on top of that.
No.
No. Because 1.2 billion is
It's already
income.
accounted,
And
factored.
it's
Factored.
in your 220.
In your 220 factored in already. There was one.
220 comes from 181 plus 39. 181 is tax collection or the total collection. 39 is the money that we are going to borrow.
Yeah.
Based on the 4.4% to GDP. We are assuming GDP is at 899 billion. Based on what they call 4. Now we are expecting between 4 and 4.5% growth. Okay, 4 and 4.5% growth. We are taking the middle part, that is 4.25. 4.25 to calculate the size of GDP, the anticipated size of GDP. So that's 899. 899, we're talking about 4.4%. You're borrowing 39B. So 181 plus 39, that means 220. So this is your the total amount that we have committed to spend. So
Okay, I think I raised hand once now. Maybe anyone else consider it. But in terms of minimum wage that you were talking about, and how it's going to increase disposable income, so on and so forth. One of the traps of minimum wage is that then it immediately pumps straight directly into inflation, and then you get a kind of feedback cycle, and then you have to raise the minimum wage again, and then inflation will continue to go up, so on and so forth. So how does it actually address the whole idea of sejahtera versus more and all the focus?
All right.
Minimum wage is part of the package. So the package also include cutting, actually forcing monopolies to break up or breaking up monopolies, in order to actually introduce competitions in. These are the key items. You spend on rice, you spend on telco. Many of us, especially urbanite, spend a lot of money on telephone, on internet, on transportation, healthcare, housing. So we need total reform in all these areas. The key spending that ordinary people spend, say 75% of your amount actually are spent on all these items. So when we talk about inflation, of course, if you only introduce minimum wage without those reforms, the situation that you have described may happen. But once you come and conduct it as a package, then you actually also increase disposable income at the same time that you're increasing the income of people at the bottom. So far, the inflation that we are facing at this moment most of them are internationally induced, and also because of the monopolistic structure of our economy. So whatever we are saying here, it has to come together with political reform, especially political reform into the monopolistic structure of the economy, without which by introducing minimum wage, without doing that, you're getting what you are saying.
Yeah. Okay, Sharon, yeah. Got a point, yeah. Yes, let me just give an example, very down to earth example. These taxi drivers, they're going to pay a day 60 ringgit to the actual license holders.
That's rental plus.
That is about easily 1,500 of income which they should take home, but paid to someone who is given, the rent seeker, the crony, because they are the one that holds the license. So it cuts through all these kind of activities, rent seeking activities, and this is why it is causing this not much of value being added into that kind of activity, but just somebody who is given because of his political know-how rather than his technical know-how. So that is distortion that we want to address. Yeah. Plus, of course, the other distortion in the whole supply chain of not making the market effective because of this cartel, these cronies. Yeah. Not so much on the supply side. Yeah. Not so much on the, because some of these, say for example, rice. Yeah. They ada kawalan harga. Betul, they cannot play around with that. But then they are playing with it on the supply side. Once there's not much of the local rice which are cheap to be supplied, then all this, all the consumers will have to resort to beras yang tidak dalam senarai harga kawalan, dalam akta kawalan, and that's where you shortchange the rakyat again, and that's where itu segala yang that's continually being perpetuated by this government. We are asking them why couldn't they break this monopolistic, oligopolistic kind of management. I think to date they still are in denial. Yeah.
Some quick questions. For example, minimum wage is set at 1,100
Selangor you mean? Selangor, yeah.
But only Selangor lah. But
Wow.
nationwide is usually above.
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 Nationwide is
Nationwide.
Peninsula is 700.
700. Nationwide 700.
Yeah.
Cuma Selangor sebab kita fikir tekanan apa ni kos bandar urban. We think that urban cost now is a lot higher, so 1,005.
People saying that land cost and everything, even in Sabah Sarawak is quite high actually. Price of a house in Sabah is also quite high, so that would not address the living cost.
Okay, I mean kalau saya jawab sedikit okay. Sebab itu the setting of minimum wage in all other countries are done by the wage council, because you have to take into account actually two tricky bit. Number one, as you point out, is a decent living that accords the basic expense for the people. Number two is the ability of the employers to a certain extent to pay, because you don't want to put too high a ceiling which in the end destroy jobs rather than help them.
Yeah.
Jadi in the case of Sabah Sarawak contohnya, the level is very low now. Walaupun you are right, walaupun harga cost is even worse because of cabotage.
Yeah,
Everything that goes to Sabah and Sarawak perlu diimport through Kelang. Kan contohnya. So in the case of, that's why kita tidak boleh melihat usaha untuk membantu rakyat menangani kenaikan harga barang ni solely from the perspective of from one program only, bukan minimum wage,
Kedai
bukan
satu.
bantuan. It has to be a combination, because going to the root causes of why prices have gone up so high tu, these are the real battle. Cut wastages, undoing macam YB Cintong kata all the monopolies licenses, because in Sabah and Sarawak is cabotage. When semua barangan dimestikan masuk melalui Kelang, kemudian diimport, dieksport sekali lagi, that's part of it. But the balance, minimum wage is about the balance between the decency, decent pay, and the ability for employers to absorb. And sebab itu bila kita telah melihat kepada semua data dan sebagainya, walaupun betul banyak pihak tidak akan bersetuju ada orang minta 2,000, 1,500. Even within Pakatan we had a long debate about that. But you have to be responsible, and we think the highest wage that you can push without beginning to have a negative impact on the economy is 1,100.
Just about domestic demand, Najib has said in Parliament that he thinks that government expenditure, or rather government
Only for people 60 years and above earning less than 18,000 ringgit accessible income each year and do not own a property costing more than
150.
150,000.
Yeah.
Because again, sebab itu saya kata you have to go into the details untuk melihat bahawa this is not a populist budget. It is a targeted assistance. In the case of senior citizens,
Page
these
9.
are
Page 9.
Page 9. In the case of scheme for senior citizens, these are the people or the group yang paling memerlukan bantuan, kerana mereka ni dah tidak bekerja, pencen pun tak ditambah, tapi saban hari kenaikan harga itu di luar kemampuan mereka. You can't go to them and cakap boleh tak boleh pergi kerja, I give you a rod and you go and fish. You can't. You actually help. You need to supplement their income immediately. Sebab itu kita letakkan kriteria. Likewise contohnya untuk allowance, homemakers allowance, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's for children below 12 years old, coming from
9.
Sorry?
12.
9.
What do you mean 12? 12 years old. 12 years old. 12 years old.
Children below 12 years old, coming from a household where income is 1,000 ringgit a month. Super juga, because these are the groups yang paling pressed for direct assistance. Kalau kita tengok ke belakangan ni, ada 2-3 berita yang to me is very sorrowful, poignant. You talk about a single mother in Butterworth who ditangkap kerana mencuri susu. For example, these are the people yang kita target for this. Dia tak ada income, and then you have another case in Mersing. Very sad. Seorang boleh dikata orang muda umur 22 tahun mati tertimbus. Dia kerja kutip buah kelapa sawit, but the young family just couldn't cope dengan harga susu bayi dan sebagainya. it drove him every night pergi korek tanah di kelapa sawit finding gold. You don't find gold in the kelapa sawit, but those are the extent of how some sections of our society have been pushed to the brink. So these are the groups yang kita betul-betul target. Then of course childcare allowance keadaannya agak berlainan. Sebab itu kita target supaya menggalakkan wanita bekerja dengan memberi allowance penjagaan anak dan juga sediakan pelaburan untuk tempat penjagaan bertauliah, certified ones. We hope to unlock the women and encourage more and more people to trust, to trust pusat penjagaan yang bertauliah ni, leave the children there and join the workforce.
The change the figures is
No, that's 1,000. That's 1,000. That's
1,000 for 12 years old and below.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and what they call for family that earns a household income of less than 1,000.
Less than 1,000.
There was some confusion over that. There was some confusion, but it's 1,000 per year for families that earn 1,000 and below, for 12 years old and below.
Sorry, my mistake. Because when you ask homemakers allowance, too is a different criteria. It's page 9. 1,000 for whose spouse earns 18,000 ringgit or less, and at least one child under 18-year-old.
Yeah, but the childcare
It's apa ni tak? It's criteria yang very
Yeah. RM1,000 setahun untuk keluarga yang isi rumah pendapatannya 1,000 dan ke bawah, dan untuk anak-anak 12 dan
So setiap anak yang berumur 12 tahun ke bawah will get the 1,000 ringgit allowance per year.
This is only for 2012.
The direct assistance, the problem that you have pointed out in BMW itself, the fact that it's open to abuse.
Yeah.
So this one is more specific targeted to specific groups to curb that.
Yeah. Thank you.
also talk about committees atau jawatan kuasa parlimen. Kami cadang tujuh jawatan kuasa parlimen untuk mengkaji bajet dengan telitinya. Pertama ialah national and international affairs. Second is economics and finance. Third is security. Fourth is education, talent and employment. Fifth is agriculture and regional development. Sixth is infrastructure, resource management and environment. 7 is community well-being. You can see this on 52, page 52, how we categorize the various ministries. Now what we are suggesting is that there's no point to say that our budget is not funded. Of course it's not funded until we win power.
Yeah.
But what is needed is that Pakatan Rakyat has really stepped up to the challenge to provide an alternative vision. The government should respond gracefully by allowing a detailed scrutiny on its budget through a functioning committee system, as we propose, 7 jabatan kuasa, and so that the debate can be in depth. There's no point to talk about just to dismiss our budget without looking into the detail. No one is God. We are not perfect. But we are proposing an alternative vision. This alternative vision is worth being debated in depth, and we call upon our colleagues from Barisan Nasional to co-sponsor this parliamentary committee so that we don't just rush through the budget without going through the detail.
Okay.